So some of the pieces you have to take the venting off. So this is a part of the dash. There are tabs here that is pried with the pry tools, and then on the side, and once you get those free, there's some metal tabs right about here that you just pull those away a little bit, and then once you do that you can pull on the side and then it's tucked underneath right here. So I got that piece off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rub it down with some alcohol just to get all the grease or wax or anything off of it. Another thing that happened while I was doing this was on this piece I had a tab break off. So what I'm going to do is take some super glue, just glue that piece on there. It doesn't show from the top, so it should be fine, but just try to get the rigidity back to it. I'm going to glue that back on. Alright, once I've done that, I'll start wrapping probably this piece first. Alright. Alright, I'm taking the alcohol and just rubbing it down on the pieces to get any residue off. That's going to get any sticker residue, any wax that's on there, oil from fingers. And the good thing about the alcohol is it evaporates pretty quick and pretty cleanly. So I'll do that on the other pieces. I've also glued that tab back on that I was telling you about, and looks to be fairly solid right now. Next thing I'm going to do is take the ashtray out of this piece. It's ashtray's held on down here with some, looks like Torx bolts. So I'll remove that, and so it looks like it's going to be 2 Torx screws here, 2 on the other side, and there's a tab that you need to pull up, and so let me and it slides right out. So now with this separated, what I'll do is I'll wipe it down with alcohol as well, and it'll be ready to at least get this piece covered. What we're going to be using, I decided to go with a new vinyl. I've never used this before. It's Vivid. So it's a vinyl, it's carbon fiber 2x2 wrap weave. So, alright, I'm going to wipe this down and I'll start cutting some pieces. Okay, so we're going to try to wrap this. What I'm going to do first is just kind of put the vinyl over it so I see how much I want to cut off the roll to play with. And I want to make sure you give yourself some extra to play, to work with. Don't try to cut it too small, because that's just, you'll end up wasting more that way. At this point, just a rough cut, so you don't need to be real careful. Just cut a piece out. Alright, so I cut the piece out and laid it up over the top of it. Here's what I've got right now. So what I'm going to do is start working from one end and just cutting the holes here, and then getting it to form around, and cut more and more material off of it so it starts to take the shape of the actual console piece that I'm working on. Battery's almost dead. Alright, so what I'm doing so far, I'm still working on this one. I'm just heating it up with the heat gun and making sure the bubbles are getting out of it. And I'm trying to form it around the piece itself. And I've cut the holes out, and then I'll start forming it around the holes as in addition to the edge. But I've got this edge, looks fairly decent so far. And the face of it doesn't look bad. I mean, the bubbles you see here are around the holes, so once I get the holes cut out even closer, it should start taking shape. Alright. Alright, so the center console's done. I'll show you how that turned out in a minute. One of the things I did is I took the top of the ashtray off, and in order to get that off, I'm going to show you guys what we've got here. So there's two indentations here and then one here. And as it's sitting on the ashtray itself, get a screwdriver underneath there and then just pop it up carefully. What you're trying to do, there's tabs, these three tabs that are going to pop off, and then there's a lip under here. So what you'll be doing actually is that get up under here, pop it up on both sides, and it doesn't come off easy, just to let you guys know. Pop it up and then slide it forward, and it'll come off the mechanism that opens it up. Be very careful because this is in multiple layers. If you get between this plastic base and the woodish stuff, you'll probably snap that right off. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you get under it, and you'll know because there's the indentations. It kind of goes down a little bit, so just make sure you're not having any problem digging between there. It should slide, the screwdriver should slide easily in that one space once you're popping it up. So what I want to do, obviously I can't leave this as wood with the carbon fiber wrap on the console. So I'm going to wrap this with carbon fiber also. I really don't want to carbon fiber over this. It's I think it's going to look kind of hokey, and then also with the temperatures changing in the car, or get hotter and colder, etc., I can see it bubbling up or loosening up here. So I started looking at it, and it's obviously a separate piece. So what it is, you look at the bottom and you can see these like little welds, but it's not, it's actually glue. So if you scrape that glue off the bottom carefully, you can start to press on, looks like metal, the silver parts here at the bottom. Start to press those out, and this thing starts to lift out. So now that's what I'm left with, two different pieces. So what I'm going to do, carbon wrap or carbon fiber vinyl over this, and then put that on top of it. It'll look like a nice finished item rather than something hokey. So I'm gonna wipe this down with the rubbing alcohol. Okay, learned a couple important lessons. One of them, well, before we get to that, this actually turned out really well. Got the wrap on it, and then I just took an X-Acto knife and cut the holes from the bottom that would hold this in, pushed it in there, and it's actually pretty solid. I'll probably put, probably what you want to do is put a little bit of glue on the back of it again on these 3 holes just to hold it in there. So mine's in there pretty good. One thing I did learn though, before, this is the centerpiece that I was doing, center console. I got that in there, and after I took off the top, I put the ashtray assembly back in. You can't get the top back on the ashtray assembly with it in the center console. So I'm going to have to remove that again, which is pretty easy. It's just, I probably should have done that ahead of time. So I'll do that. The other important lesson, and this is going to delay the video for me to get finished. I mean, obviously it'll be finished when I publish it. But you want to measure whatever you do. Make sure you got enough material. Came time to do the bigger piece that goes all the way across the dashboard, and I don't have enough vinyl to cover that. So I've ordered some more. I'm going to do that piece and this also at the same time, so they kind of line up better. What I'll do in the meantime, I'll finish the side pieces for the doors, and I'll get the ashtray cover onto the ashtray. So I won't bore you with putting this back on. Well, you know what? Actually, what I'll do is just so I can show you how it snaps on. Okay, so this is the finished product of this. Actually, it turned out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. What I did then is I just clipped this piece back in so it sits flush, and that'll look nice in the car, look better than the wood. So here is the ashtray cover. Push it down, it opens up, and push it again, it latches. So what I was telling you guys earlier, you've got with this, you've got 5 tabs in the back, and then there's kind of a lip in the front. I don't know if you can see that or not. There's a lip right here. So what I'm going to do is attach the lip to the front of the door on the ashtray, and then push it back in there. It's on there pretty solid now. There it goes. Here's the rough cut. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to peel off the backing. Stick the piece on it and try to smooth out the big open pieces for the open areas first. I'll try to see where I want to put it roughly. That looks good. So now that I've got it stuck on there, I'm just going to go through and smooth out, try to get this little bubble out of there. Keep smoothing. Then I'll heat it with a heat gun like I have been doing, and just further smooth out any bubbles And then the good thing about the heat gun is it makes it a little bit more pliable, so you can actually, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to stretch and kind of stretch and mold the vinyl around each piece so it sits flush and gets all the bubbles out. I'm going to be heating it up and molding it and then bending it over, and what you want to do is kind of get a nice overlay into the material itself, because this is going to be all behind the scenes. It's all going to be, you know, plugged back into the door, and any little bit of vinyl that's on that lip and folded over is going to help hold it secure. So alright, I'm going to pause here and start heating a little bit, and I'll continue in a second. Okay, here's what we got so far. Piece is coming out pretty good right now. And what I wanted to show you, I didn't want to show you the boring part, is just getting it flat here. And then what I've been doing is heating up the edges and smoothing it out with my fingertips to get it nice and smooth, and then wrapping as much of the material as I can around the back and pushing it down to get a seal. I know, you know, any of my people or any of my friends that do wrapping for a living are probably going to be laughing at me, because this is not exactly a professional job, but it's actually working out really well. So apologize if I'm making a mockery of anybody's profession, but I'm not a professional, so this is my attempt. So I've got my heat gun, and what I'm doing is I'm just heating it up so it gets nice and pliable, and then just kind of massaging it down. You can pull it off if you need to, but just massaging it down on the contours, getting all the bubbles out. And on these corners you're going to have to stretch it. So on the corners, while you're stretching it, just massage the bubbles out. If you need to pull it up again. And then stretching it's actually going to help where it starts to bunch up. You can smooth that out as well. So this is a little bit time consuming, just because you got to keep being careful what you do, and it possibly takes multiple times of peeling it back a little bit, heating it up and pushing it back down. But as you'll see, I'm starting to get the shape, and what I need to do is go around this contour here. That's what I'm trying to do to finish it off around there, like I did with this one. Alright, gotta go around this corner here. So as you start to get towards the end, what you're going to want to do is take a X-Acto knife and cut any of the material away that's going to be too much. Try not to slice your fingers off. So I find myself making a lot of small cuts just because, I don't know, it just seems safer. I have a little bit of bunching up right there, so I'm going to heat it up and try to smooth that out. Alright, I'll finish this up. I think you guys have the gist of what I'm doing, and I'll show you the finished product. Okay? Alright, so I finished up the wrap last night. The parts, or the vinyl came in from Amazon, and then I completed that piece. So it actually looks pretty good. Might be a couple pieces that I'll take off now that I've got extra and redo maybe. There's a couple spots that probably could have come out a little bit better. So, but that's what it looks like, a lot better than the wood. And as you can see, there's still a lot of this white crap on the ground. And here's the back. Here's what it looks like. Turned out pretty good. All right.